Did you know that Bayard Rustin, the brilliant strategist behind the legendary 1963 March on Washington, lived quietly as a gay man during an era when it could have ended his career? From Ma Rainey's unapologetic lyrics about loving women, to Luther Vandross's carefully guarded personal life, the hidden truths of these iconic figures tell powerful stories of love, bravery, and silence. Here are 20 legendary black individuals who kept their sexuality hidden until their final days. Bayard Rustin, the unsung hero of the civil rights movement. Bayard Rustin was one of the most influential yet often overlooked figures in the civil rights movement. While his name may not be as instantly recognizable as Martin Luther King Jr. or Rosa Parks, Rustin was the driving force behind the scenes, organizing marches, crafting strategies, and mentoring leaders. He was the mastermind behind the iconic 1963 March on Washington. But here's something many people don't know. Bayard Rustin was a gay man. In an era when being openly gay was not only taboo but also dangerous. Especially for someone at the forefront of high-profile activism, Rustin walked a fine line. Society wasn't ready to accept his full identity, and he knew that his sexuality could be weaponized to undermine the movement he was fighting for. Though he didn't hide who he was from those close to him, he also didn't make it public. Still, Rustin never let that stop him. He faced discrimination head-on, even being arrested in the 1950s for a consensual relationship with another man, an incident that cast a long shadow over his career. Critics, including some within the movement, tried to use his identity against him. Yet through it all, Rustin never stopped fighting for justice. He often chose to stay in the background, not out of fear, but out of a deep commitment to protecting the cause he believed in. Decades after his death, the world began to finally recognize not just his pivotal role in the civil rights struggle, but also his quiet bravery as a gay man in a time when being true to yourself could cost you everything. In 2013, President Barack Obama posthumously awarded him the Presidential Medal of Freedom, a long-overdue honor for a man who gave everything for the fight for equality. Alvin Ailey, a legacy beyond dance. Alvin Ailey was a visionary, a true genius who forever transformed the world of dance. He founded the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater, a company that grew into a powerful symbol of hope, creativity, and artistic excellence. But behind his groundbreaking achievements, Ailey carried a heavy emotional burden. He lived in a time when being openly gay, especially as a public figure, was neither widely accepted nor easily embraced. The pressure to conform to society's expectations was overwhelming. Ailey chose to keep his personal life private, not out of shame, but because the world simply wasn't ready to accept him for who he truly was. He knew that revealing his identity could risk not only his career but the very legacy he was working so hard to build. That silence, however, didn't shield him from inner turmoil. Ailey faced deep personal struggles he rarely shared with anyone. Instead, he channeled his emotions into his art. His dances were not just performances, they were reflections of his soul. If you watch closely, you can feel the raw vulnerability, the quiet pain, and the emotional complexity woven into every movement. Despite the obstacles, Ailey's impact was immeasurable. He created a safe and empowering space for dancers of all backgrounds to express themselves freely and authentically. He opened doors for black dancers who had long been excluded from mainstream stages, reshaping the face of American dance forever. It wasn't until after his death in 1989 that the world began to fully recognize the depth of his life and the silent battles he fought. Today, Alvin Ailey's legacy lives on, not just in the beauty of his choreography, but in the courage, inclusivity, and passion that defined his life. James Baldwin. James Baldwin was one of the most brilliant minds of the 20th century. But he wasn't just a writer, he was a fearless voice for justice, equality, and truth. Through his essays, novels, and activism, Baldwin explored powerful themes like race, identity, and love with a raw honesty that made his work unforgettable. When it came to his personal life, Baldwin was intensely private, especially about his relationships. In his younger years, he had romantic connections with both women and men, delving into love in all its beautiful complexity. He never conformed to society's expectations or fit into simple categories, and that only added to his mystique. Early on, he had relationships with women of different races, a radical act in mid-20th century America. Later in life, his heart gravitated toward men, a reflection of his truest self. What made Baldwin even more remarkable was his courage to write openly about sexuality. He didn't tiptoe around it. He faced it head-on in works like Giovanni's Room, a groundbreaking novel about a man struggling with his attraction to another man. At a time when same-sex love was rarely acknowledged, especially by Black writers, Baldwin broke barriers. He once said that love transcends labels and categories, and you can feel that truth echo through his work. For Baldwin, love and identity were deeply personal, and he never felt the need to justify who he was. Living as a gay Black man in a time when both identities were harshly judged wasn't easy. He endured criticism and rejection, but through it all, Baldwin remained unapologetically himself. Luther Vandross. Luther Vandross had one of the most unforgettable voices of our time. His music became the soundtrack to countless love stories, heartbreaks, and cherished memories for millions around the world. Despite the immense love and admiration he received, Luther remained an intensely private person. He never spoke publicly about his personal life, especially when it came to his sexuality. For years, there were rumors and speculation, but Luther chose to keep that part of himself out of the spotlight. It wasn't until after his passing in 2005 that his close friend, Patti LaBelle, confirmed in an interview that Luther was gay. By then, it felt like something many had quietly known, but had honored his decision to keep private. What made Luther's music so powerful was its universal appeal. His songs spoke to the heart, no matter who you were or who you loved. Those close to him say he had very few romantic relationships. His longest was with a man during his years living in Los Angeles in the late 80s and early 90s. Even then, he was extremely discreet. Luther never wanted his private life to be public conversation, and that decision defined the way he lived. Jackie Moms Mabley was a trailblazer in comedy, shattering barriers and making audiences laugh like no one else could. Known for her unforgettable onstage persona, frumpy house dress, floppy hat, and oversized shoes, Moms was one of the first women to truly break through in the male-dominated world of stand-up comedy. Her act was bold and unapologetic. She'd famously joke about her love for younger men, once quipping, "The only thing an old man can do for me is tell me where to find a young one." But off stage, she was a completely different person. Gone were the house dress and hat, replaced by stylish slacks and crisp shirts that challenged traditional gender norms. Those who knew her described her as confident, sharp, and never afraid to be herself. Fellow performer Norma Miller, who worked with Moms at the Apollo Theater, recalled how she would bring her girlfriend backstage without hesitation. While Moms didn't speak publicly about her sexuality, being openly gay or bisexual wasn't widely accepted in her era. Her private life was an open secret among friends and colleagues. Throughout her life, she had relationships with both men and women, adding even more depth to her remarkable story. Up next, we'll dive into the hidden lives of other iconic performers, from a gospel powerhouse to a fearless blues legend. Their untold stories just might surprise you. Ethel Waters, born in 1896, rose to fame through sheer talent and unshakable determination, becoming a celebrated actress and singer. But beyond the spotlight, there's a lesser-known, deeply human side to her story, one marked by quiet strength, especially when it came to her personal life and identity. In the 1920s, at the height of the Harlem Renaissance, Waters was part of the vibrant LGBTQ+ circles that thrived in the cultural underground. She had a romantic relationship with dancer Ethel Williams, and the two were so close they earned the nickname, the Two Ethels, from their peers, including famed entertainer Mabel Hampton. The women lived together during this period, and Waters' performances naturally drew a devoted following from the lesbian and gay communities. Though she never spoke publicly about her bisexuality, her connections within these circles were well known among her friends. Throughout her life, Waters also married 3 men, adding layers of complexity to her personal journey. Professionally, her legacy is nothing short of groundbreaking. She shattered barriers, becoming only the second African American to receive an Academy Award nomination and the first to star in her own television show. She was also the first Black woman to be nominated for a Primetime Emmy, historic achievements at a time when opportunities for African American artists were few and far between. Ethel Waters wasn't just a star, she was a pioneer, whose life continues to inspire to this day. 7. Billy Strayhorn. Billy Strayhorn was a musical genius whose collaboration with Duke Ellington helped define the sound of modern jazz. Behind some of Ellington's most iconic works, like Take the Train and Lush Life, was Strayhorn's brilliant mind and soulful artistry. What made Strayhorn even more remarkable was his courage. In an era when being openly gay was virtually unheard of, especially in the world of jazz, Strayhorn lived his truth without apology. While many in the entertainment industry felt pressured to hide their identities, Strayhorn was honest and open with his friends and collaborators. His authenticity became part of his charm. He fully embraced who he was, and that fearlessness echoed through his music and personal relationships. For nearly a decade, Strayhorn shared his life with his partner, Aaron Bridgers, a fellow jazz pianist and composer. They lived together from 1939 to 1948, with Strayhorn staying in the home until 1950. Their relationship was an open secret among those close to them, and Strayhorn never shied away from showing his love and respect for Aaron. Ma Rainey, a true trailblazer of the blues. Known as the mother of the blues, Ma Rainey was a pioneer in every sense of the word. Fearless and unapologetic, she lived boldly, both on and off the stage. While she never publicly spoke about her sexuality, her lyrics and the stories surrounding her life suggest she may have been bisexual. One of her most iconic songs, Prove It On Me Blues, features lyrics that openly hint at her attraction to women. The song defies societal expectations, speaking of love between women, a bold and rebellious message, especially in the 1920s. In fact, in 1925, Ma made headlines when she was arrested after throwing what was described as an indecent, all-female party. Things reportedly got a little too wild, prompting police to step in and land her in jail overnight. Ma Rainey was also rumored to have had a romantic connection with her protégé, the legendary blues singer Bessie Smith. While there's no concrete evidence to confirm a relationship, their close bond has long fueled speculation. In the Netflix film Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, Viola Davis portrays Ma as a queer woman with a fictional girlfriend, Dussie Mae. Though Dussie isn't based on a real person, her character captures the spirit of Ma's fiercely independent and unconventional life. Interestingly, Ma was married twice to men. Her first marriage to Will Rainey lasted a decade before they separated. She later married a younger man, though little is known about him. These relationships existed alongside rumors of her affairs with women, showing just how complex and multifaceted Ma Rainey truly was. Langston Hughes. Langston Hughes was a literary giant of the Harlem Renaissance, celebrated for his beautifully crafted poems, plays, and essays that captured the struggles, dreams, and joys of Black life in America. Yet despite his public influence, Hughes was intensely private when it came to his personal life, especially his sexuality, which he never discussed openly. This silence has fueled decades of speculation among scholars. Some believe Hughes was gay, pointing to unpublished poems and subtle, recurring themes in his work that hint at relationships with men. Others argue he may have been asexual, noting the absence of documented romantic relationships and the accounts of those who knew him. What's undeniable is that Hughes defied simple labels, and that complexity is part of what makes him so compelling. His poetry often contained layered, coded language that some interpret as reflections of his inner life. He frequently wrote about African American men with a striking tenderness and admiration, describing their strength and beauty in ways that feel deeply personal. Though he never explicitly wrote about his own romantic experiences, themes of love, longing, and connection run powerfully through his work. There's even speculation about an unpublished poem written to a male lover, though nothing has ever been confirmed. Hughes's biographer, Arnold Rampersad, suggests that he may have been asexual, more focused on his art and activism than on romantic attachments. According to Rampersad, Hughes likely poured all of his passion into his creative pursuits, leaving behind a legacy that continues to captivate and inspire. Wilmer "Little Axe" Brodniks. Born in Houston, Texas, Wilmer Little Axe Broadnax started singing gospel alongside his brother, Big Axe. The duo quickly captured attention with their extraordinary talent. Wilmer, known for his powerful and soulful tenor voice, set his sights on a career in gospel music. In the mid-1940s, he and his brother moved to Southern California to chase their dreams. By the 1950s, Broadnax had become a standout member of the legendary Spirit of Memphis Quartet, one of the most iconic gospel groups of that era. His performances were electrifying, and his voice became a defining part of the group's sound. If you've ever seen the book Happy in the Service of the Lord, African American Sacred Vocal Harmony, you might recognize him on the cover with the group, a testament to just how vital he was to their success. Tragically, Broadnax's life ended in violence when he was fatally stabbed in the early 1990s, either in 1992 or 1994. After his death, it was revealed that he was a transgender man, a fact not widely known during his lifetime due to the societal climate of the time. Despite the secrecy, Broadnax lived authentically in his own way, dedicating himself to his music and the powerful legacy he left behind. Up next, we explore the story of a civil rights hero who stood beside Martin Luther King Jr., while quietly carrying a deeply personal secret of his own: Josephine Baker. Josephine Baker shattered boundaries as an African-American woman in the 1920s and 30s, rising to international stardom in France. With her magnetic charm, unmatched talent, and fearless spirit, she captivated audiences and became a global icon. While her relationships with men often made headlines, what many didn't know was that Baker was openly bisexual, a bold truth she embraced long before it was widely accepted. She shared romantic relationships with women throughout her life, though these were rarely spotlighted by the press. In a time when queerness was often hidden, Josephine lived her truth unapologetically, using both her art and activism to challenge societal norms. Offstage, she was a passionate civil rights advocate. At the 1963 March on Washington, she was the only woman to speak alongside Martin Luther King Jr., proudly wearing her French military uniform as a symbol of her fight for justice. Her activism knew no compromise. She famously refused to perform for segregated audiences in the U.S., standing firm in her beliefs no matter the cost. Her personal life was just as revolutionary. Josephine adopted 12 children from various ethnic backgrounds, calling them her Rainbow Tribe. Through them, she sought to prove that people of all races could live together in peace and harmony. Barbara Jordan. Barbara Jordan was a powerhouse, a trailblazing politician and civil rights icon who shattered barriers and left a lasting legacy. She wasn't just the first black woman from a southern state elected to the U.S. House of Representatives. She was also a fearless advocate for justice and equality. Her political journey began in 1966 when she became the first black woman elected to the Texas State Senate. It was during this time that she met Nancy Earl, her longtime partner, who stood by her side for decades. Though Jordan never spoke publicly about her personal life, those close to her knew she was open about her identity in private. She believed her personal life was just that, personal. As one friend put it, she never denied who she was, she just didn't think the public needed to know. While she chose not to label herself or make her sexuality a public issue, her achievements spoke volumes. Jordan was a fierce champion for civil rights, using her powerful voice to demand equality and justice. One of her most unforgettable moments came during the Nixon impeachment hearings, where her riveting speech captured the nation's attention and cemented her reputation as a leader of unshakable integrity. Gladys Bentley. In the 1920s and 30s, Gladys Bentley lit up Harlem's vibrant nightlife scene, earning a name for herself as a powerhouse blues singer, pianist, and magnetic performer. Her career skyrocketed when she began performing at Harry Hansberry's Clam House, a popular gay speakeasy in New York. Bentley became a sensation, known for her bold signature style. Sharp men's suits complete with a top hat and tailcoat, all while confidently flirting with women in the crowd. She shattered boundaries, unapologetically owning the stage and her identity. In the early 1930s, she headlined at Harlem's legendary Ubangi Club, sharing the spotlight with a chorus line of drag queens. Her shows were electric, raw, fearless, and unforgettable. As Prohibition ended and Harlem's speakeasy culture began to fade, Bentley moved to Southern California. There, she continued to shine, earning titles like America's Greatest Sepia Piano Player and the Brown Bomber of Sophisticated Songs. But life outside Harlem's queer-friendly spaces was far less welcoming. Bentley faced constant harassment for dressing in men's clothing, and the world demanded she hide who she was. During the McCarthy era, the pressure intensified. To avoid persecution, she conformed, donning dresses, marrying a man, and even claiming she had been cured of her attraction to women through hormone therapy. Many believe this heartbreaking claim was a survival tactic in a time of fear and intolerance. Despite the challenges, Gladys Bentley remained a trailblazer. She even found herself rubbing elbows with Hollywood stars like Cary Grant and Barbara Stanwyck. Her story is one of resilience, talent, and the courage to live out loud, even when the world tried to silence her. Essex Hemphill, born in 1957, grew up in Washington, D.C., where he discovered early on that he had a powerful gift for words. His poetry was raw, honest, and unapologetically bold. Hemphill never backed down from difficult conversations. His work bravely confronted the intersections of race, sexuality, and identity, capturing the complexities of being both black and gay in America. Through his art, Hemphill demanded visibility and justice for marginalized communities, making sure their voices were heard loud and clear. One of his most profound contributions was shining a light on the struggles of black men living with HIV/AIDS at the height of the epidemic. But Hemphill's work went beyond raising awareness. It was about building community, inspiring resilience, and igniting a spirit of solidarity. He believed deeply in the power of collective action, and his fearless activism encouraged countless others to stand up for LGBTQ+ rights and equality. Even after his passing in 1995, Hemphill's influence has never waned. On December 10th of that year, organizations like Gay Men of African Descent and Black Nations/Queer Nations declared it a national day of remembrance in his honor. His legacy continued to resonate. Filmmaker Cheryl Dooney dedicated her groundbreaking 1996 film The Watermelon Woman to him, a testament to the profound impact he had on the community. In 2019, his legacy was further cemented when he was inducted into the National LGBTQ Wall of Honor at the Stonewall National Monument, placing him among the trailblazers who have forever shaped the history of LGBTQ+ rights in America. Essex Hemphill's voice still echoes today. Powerful, poetic, and impossible to ignore. Octavia Butler. Octavia Butler was a true literary legend, a trailblazing science fiction writer who fearlessly explored themes of race, gender, and sexuality in ways few had dared before. Despite her widespread acclaim, Butler was intensely private, and the mystery surrounding her personal life has sparked ongoing speculation about her sexuality since her passing. What we do know is this: Butler never married, never had children, and lived life on her own terms. After her death in 2006, some obituaries identified her as a lesbian, while those close to her offered different perspectives, describing her as bisexual, asexual, or even heterosexual. But this ambiguity seems fitting for someone who constantly defied simple definitions. Butler's writing makes one thing clear: she was far more interested in the rich complexities of human relationships than in labeling herself. Her stories are filled with characters who break boundaries. In her Patternist series, for instance, she introduced us to Enyanu, a black, bisexual shapeshifter who redefines the very concept of family and love. Enyanu's journey includes forming an interracial family with a female partner, an idea that was bold and revolutionary in the world of science fiction. Then there's Butler's Xenogenesis trilogy, where she gives us Lilith Ayapo, a black woman who becomes the matriarch of the first human-alien hybrid family, a stunning metaphor for transformation, survival, and connection beyond convention. You've heard some incredible stories so far, but up next are pioneers who lived their truth out loud and changed the world in unforgettable ways. Julius Eastman was a singular talent, an avant-garde composer and performer who boldly redefined the boundaries of music and identity. He was unapologetically black, openly gay, and fearlessly authentic in everything he did. Though his daring spirit wasn't always embraced during his lifetime, today, his groundbreaking work is finally receiving the recognition it deserves. People are beginning to understand just how far ahead of his time he truly was. Despite his immense talent, Eastman struggled to gain widespread acclaim while he was alive. In the 1970s and 80s, he was deeply embedded in the avant-garde music scene, collaborating with influential artists like Meredith Monk and Peter Maxwell Davies. But in a world that was predominantly white and straight, Eastman faced steep challenges. His refusal to conform, his defiance of expectations, made him a controversial figure, even within his own community. Audre Lorde. Audre Lorde was not only a literary icon but also a fierce warrior for justice, celebrated for her searing poetry and essays that boldly confronted issues of race, gender, and sexuality. But the path to becoming the unapologetic, fearless voice we revere today was far from simple. In her early years, Lorde kept much of her personal identity guarded. It was a gradual journey, one of self-discovery and courage, that led her to fully embrace her truth as both a poet and a lesbian. That journey began to crystallize during her time at the National University of Mexico. There, far from the societal expectations and restrictions of the United States, she found a liberating space where she could explore her identity, both creatively and personally. It was a transformative period that awakened the bold, unfiltered voice that would soon shake the world. Upon returning to the U.S., Lorde continued her studies at Hunter College. By day, she was a diligent student, concealing her sexuality from her peers. But by night, she found refuge and connection in the gritty, vibrant world of working-class lesbian bars in downtown New York. These spaces gave her the freedom to live authentically and form bonds with others navigating similar struggles. This dual existence, intellectual by day, liberated by night, embodied the tension and resilience of being a queer woman of color in mid-20th century America. At a time when living openly came with real risk, Lorde's life was a quiet revolution, one that would later roar through her words and activism, inspiring generations to come. Bessie Smith, famously known as the Empress of the Blues, was a larger-than-life icon whose voice and presence left a lasting imprint on American culture. Her singing was raw, powerful, and emotionally charged, capturing both the struggles and the joys of Black working-class life in every soul-stirring note. But Bessie wasn't just a musical legend. She was a bold, unapologetic woman who lived life on her own terms, even when it came to love. Openly bisexual among her close friends and peers, Bessie was part of a vibrant community of queer women in Harlem, many of them lesbian or bisexual, who dared to defy convention and live authentically, even in a time when queerness was deeply stigmatized. Her relationships reflected that fearless spirit. She was romantically involved with both men and women throughout her life. Her marriage to Jack G., which lasted from 1923 to 1929, ended after she discovered he was having an affair with another performer, Gertrude Saunders. But betrayal didn't break her, it fueled her. Bessie poured herself into her music and relationships, always moving forward with strength and self-assurance. One of the most intriguing stories about Bessie is her connection with fellow blues legend Ma Rainey. In 1925, Bessie famously bailed Ma out of jail after she was arrested for throwing what authorities called a lesbian party. Their close friendship and rumored romance speaks volumes about the tight-knit, trailblazing community of queer Black women in music at the time. Sylvester was a true trailblazer, a disco legend who lived boldly, unapologetically, and authentically. Known for his soaring falsetto and electrifying performances, he wasn't just a singer, he was a force of nature. With hits like You Make Me Feel, Mighty Real, Sylvester became an enduring symbol of liberation and joy, especially within the LGBTQ+ community during the 1970s and 80s. What made Sylvester so unforgettable wasn't just his music, it was his fearless defiance of norms. At a time when being openly gay was far from accepted, Sylvester embraced his identity with pride. He didn't just wear drag, he celebrated it. Through his dazzling style and unapologetic artistry, he challenged society's expectations of gender and sexuality, making him a hero to many and misunderstood by some. But he never let that stop him. One of the most touching chapters in Sylvester's life was his relationship with Michael Lyons, a young white man he met in the 1970s. The two fell deeply in love and, despite same-sex marriage being illegal in the US at the time, they chose to marry anyway. In classic Sylvester fashion, they held a beautiful, heartfelt ceremony in the Shakespeare Garden of San Francisco's Golden Gate Park. For them, it wasn't about legal recognition. It was about love, commitment, and staying true to who they were. That act of love, bold and unfiltered, spoke volumes about who Sylvester was: a visionary, a rebel, and above all, a beacon of authenticity. Count T. Cullen was one of the most brilliant poets of the Harlem Renaissance, celebrated for his graceful writing and his gift for exploring the complexities of love, identity, and longing. While his poetry revealed deep emotion, Cullen was intensely private about his personal life, leaving much of it cloaked in mystery. In 1928, Cullen married Yolanda Dubois, daughter of the legendary W.E.B. Du Bois. Their wedding was a grand affair, attended by many of the era's most influential black artists and intellectuals. But behind the glitz and glamour, the marriage was troubled from the very beginning. Just 2 years later, it ended in divorce. Years afterward, Yolanda revealed a deeper truth: that Cullen was attracted to men. He moved in social circles that included several openly gay figures, such as Alain Locke, Harold Jackman, and Carl Van Vechten. While many of his friends lived more openly, Cullen remained reserved, likely due to the pressure he faced as a public figure to uphold a certain image. Private letters and unpublished poems suggest that Cullen experienced profound feelings for men, though he never publicly acknowledged this part of his life. If you found this hidden side of Cullen's story fascinating, don't forget to like this video, share it with friends who appreciate powerful history, and subscribe for more untold stories. And hey, let us know in the comments, which part of Cullen's story surprised you the most?